Breaking news for all cryptocurrency holders and investors. Bitcoin has just printed this legendary blue dot. But is there a secret hidden message here that may not be what it seems, and is Bitcoin about to trick everybody? Plus, bottom of your screen, we are about to have a potential breakout in the RSI. Last time this happened, we had a breakout right here, back in September 2024, when Bitcoin was at a mere $53,000. And as soon as we broke, we went from 53 to well over 100. How about the prior time? The prior time we had a breakout was here, back in October 2023, when Bitcoin was at a mere $26,000. And we went from $26,000 and rallied up to $70,000 with that exact cross. In this video, I'm going to break down this cross and this blue dot, and I'm going to leave you with my secret clue as to if this blue dot is a big trick. Let's get into it. Hurry, seats are almost gone. 99% are about to make a huge mistake when exiting altcoins and Bitcoin. One missed exit this cycle and your gains vanish. Get my new masterclass and exit altcoins and Bitcoin like a pro with zero doubt. To my students, I have never released this exit plan strategy before, and this will be the only time I do. Imagine waking up to a crash and feeling calm because you already exited like a pro. This limited seats pre-sale is going fast. Hurry, go now. CryptoCrewUniversity.com and save an extra $300 with crypto payment. Here we are in the Bitcoin US dollar index, and today we're on the 6-day chart. On the 6-day chart, we have what's called the hash ribbons. The hash ribbons are an indicator that you can pull up by going to your indicator, type in hash ribbons, pull it up, and then the settings will be the custom settings that you see really are stock settings with the 30 and the 60, and the style is here, but you keep it all stock, plug it in, 6-day chart, and voila. And simply put, when you get this blue button, it means that it's a good time to buy. Really, in a nutshell, that's what you need to know. If you're asking about these green ones, that's when the signal is getting relatively close, when they're starting to show signal. This is really about the miner's capitulation and really about the miner's efficiency. It's built in here, and from that you can take pretty good buying opportunities. I think historically this indicator is pretty useful. It's pretty good near market bottoms. It's not good near market tops. I just want to point that out for the record. This is not an indicator of when to exit, right? If you want to know when to exit, which everybody here wants to know, that's why I built the masterclass. It literally gives you a step-by-step strategy that whether you're 5 years old or 105 years old, you're going to dominate. This indicator is more so about buying the bottom of the market, and it tries to give a bunch of opportunities to do so. Now, we can see that we've got a blue dot on our chart, and the last blue dot on our chart was here, back around 65. We went from 65 over to 100. Great. Time before that was here, back at 67. We did go from 67 at our buy, and we plummeted all the way down to 48. Now, those of you who are short-term minded, you're not going to be with this on a 6-day chart making swing trades, because you're going to get stomped out here, right? You get in the market plummets, you're going to panic sell down here around 50, then the thing's going to jump up, 1 or 2 weeks later to 64, you're going to enter back in, then you're going to get stomped out again. What you want to do is, if you're a medium term trader, you're going to use this to take some pretty good entry points, hopefully near the bottom. And then maybe you get 1 or 2 early buying signals in the beginning of the bull. And then I would suggest not using this indicator after that. Its goal is really to get you in and get you situated somewhere near the bottom and somewhere near the probably phase 1, potentially early phase 2 of the bull. But more importantly, the bottom of our screen, the RSI. What we see in the RSI are these typical moves. You can see that after January, we sort of held resistance at this green line. Now, if you're wondering what this indicator, it's just the stock RSI with the RSI based MA in yellow. So that yellow, that moving average, is just tilting down here and acting as resistance for about 150 days. That's exactly what it did here in April 2024. You can see it acting as resistance for about 150 days. And as soon as it stopped acting as resistance and we finally broke out above and held it as support with the data point from September 27, 2024, held it as support with a breakout right precisely at 59,000. We went from 59 over 100,000 real quick with this breakout here. That's after 150 days of resistance breakout. Where are we at now? Right now, we've been as resistance for over 114 days. 114 days so far, and we're looking like we want to try to break out of that. Another example is back here in 2023. Here, we went below at this data point from April 23, and we finally broke above in October 24. 150, 175 days of resistance here, finally breaking above at this data point from Halloween time 2023. Bitcoin about 26,000, went from 26,000, quickly moved up to 70 with this simple breakout. In other words, we've had a bull run for the past couple of years. And 2 other times we've had this exact move where we had a couple hundred days of resistance, breakout, market pump. Then the whole thing repeats. A couple hundred days of resistance, breakout, market pumps. Why is that important? Catch the top before it's gone. Get your exit plan at cryptocrewuniversity.com. So far, we've had a couple hundred days of resistance. We're looking at potentially a breakout, market pumps coming soon. And that's what we want to understand. So on our charts with this blue dot, I want to get back to this because this is going to be a major talking point of today. Like I said, I think that this is a great indicator near the bottom, phase 1, phase 2. It's not about, when to exit or when to get the last rally of the altcoin rally. It's not about timing the market in that way. There's one data point that I find interesting. It's this data point that I have in red from July 2021. We had a buy here when Bitcoin was around 50,000. From there, we went from the 50,000 up to our double top, and the rest is history. Now, it typically doesn't give signals like this anywhere near a market cycle top. And the reason for this one is the market was so out of balance, meaning this was our most unorthodox cycle where at the start of the cycle, we rallied way too high, way too quick, and we still hadn't double bottom. So after that way too high, way too quick rally, everything comes back to earth, which it did to create its double bottom in a very unorthodox way. And then as it came out of its bottom, it went sideways for a moment, catching its breath, and then skyrocketed way too fast up to our first top. And then we were so out of breath, we just had a quick pullback, and that pullback was bought up a little bit and it just rallied us to our top, and this ended up being a huge trap from the beginning. It was a very unorthodox cycle, which is why it sped out a buy at a not very opportune time to enter the market. It typically doesn't do that. If you look at the prior cycle, the last buy here was this is the bottom of the market, this is phase 1, this is phase 2. The last buy was in phase 2 in 2016. The last buy here in this cycle from 2011, this is the bottom, this is phase 1, and this is phase 2. So the last buying opportunity here was also phase 2 right before we moved into phase 3. So what we saw in our last market cycle is we already had phase 1 here and phase 2 was here, and we got a buy signal right at the tail end of phase 2 and at the beginning of phase 3. And then we had this kind of anomaly buy, which was sort of a false buying opportunity. And it was only false because the cycle was so unorthodox. It confused the indicator essentially, and it printed this, which leads me to where we're at now. Is this another situation where the market is a little bit out of balance? If you just count how many buying opportunities we had in the past cycle, we had one here in 19, we had another one in 20, we had our third in 20, we had our fourth in 20, and then we had our fifth in 2021. So far we've had 5, right? We had one in 23, another one in 23, our third in 24, our fourth in 24, and our fifth in 25. So we had 5 last cycle. The last one was at this weird point. Could it happen again? Because at our last point, there was still technically some upside, although it was a tiny bit, but there was still upside, and then followed by dramatic downside. So what's to come here? Catch the top before it's gone. Get your exit plan at CryptoCrewUniversity.com. In our last time that we had this little buy, we were also in this situation where we are held as resistance for 150, 200 days. And when we broke out, that's when we got to our new double top, right? So are we going to get a bigger run than this one? If not, it could end up one of these red boxes. Now, at the beginning of the episode, I mentioned that there's something I wanted to tell you about this blue dot, which is something that's incredibly noteworthy and that I want you to know. This blue dot was also showing up recently on a weekly chart. I know that you've seen it because I've seen some people talk about it in the comments. You guys brought this up to my attention, and when I looked at it, there was a blue dot on the weekly. Guess what? In the past handful of days, that blue dot has gone away on the weekly. It's still here on the 6th day. We're going to see how long this lasts and what happens, but let me know in the comments down below. Do you think we're going to break out of this RSI pattern? And do you think that this blue dot is going to be one of the pure buying opportunities of this cycle? One missed exit this cycle and your gains vanish. If you ever watched your portfolio go up and you didn't know when to exit altcoins or Bitcoin, this new exit plan masterclass is for you. To my students, I have never released this exit plan strategy before, and this will be the only time I do. You will walk away with exactly when to exit altcoins and Bitcoin with total clarity and 0 second guessing. This is a pre-sale, and early bird seats are now open, but very limited. Imagine waking up to a crash and feeling calm because you already exited like a pro. Go now, CryptoCrewUniversity.com, and save an extra $300 off with crypto payment. Click the red button now to lock in your seats.